You've repeatedly failed to appear for court. You've repeatedly tested positive for a lot of substances, and now you're trying to fool us yet again. It's unacceptable, and there has to be accountability.
Yikes. The judge isn't just calling him out, he's laying down the law. Multiple missed court dates and failed drug tests? That's not just disrespectful, it's dangerous. And now a Wizinator? That's not clever. It's criminal. Literally. Let me know in the comments. Should that count as jail-worthy deception?
Oh, sorry. And this is his mom, Rosanna Tyrell.
Are you familiar with what he did today?
We're familiar with what they said. We don't agree that that's right. We also agree that he's being held accountable for things that aren't really applicable in this case. You know, and
I'm asking him not to use drugs or alcohol.
I know.
That's all I'm asking him to do. And he's constantly testing positive.
Let's pause here. Falsifying a drug test using a Wizinator isn't just an act of desperation. It's a Class B misdemeanor. That means up to 6 months in jail or a $2,000 fine. For those wondering, yes, tampering with court-ordered testing is a serious offense. This isn't just bad behavior, it's obstruction.
And now he's taking a Wizinator into the room.
Well, it's wrong. And we don't want.
He can be charged criminally for that. That's an offense in and of itself. Falsifying a drug test, it's a Class B misdemeanor. You're facing another 6 months in jail and or a $2,000 fine.
What about, I mean, our concern and his concern is simple. This girl.
I'm not,
I know.
no, we're not talking about the case. We're talking,
What is the case?
no, we're talking about the ability to remain clean and sober, first and foremost. We're not even talking about the case at this point. We're only talking about remaining clean and sober. He's repeatedly been unable to do that. And now he's trying to fool us.
Well, he has an issue that we know.
May I
You
say
know.
something, Ron?
Okay. I think what needs to happen is I think the first thing you need to do is you need to talk to your lawyer before you make any statements.
Yes, sir.
The only thing I'm going to say is that I'm extremely upset, disappointed, and taking you into custody. You know, you've repeatedly failed to appear for court. You've repeatedly tested positive for a lot of substances, and now you're trying to fool us yet again. It's unacceptable, and there has to be accountability, and you need to accept that you can't continue to do what you're doing. Mr. Terrell, you're digging yourself into a hole that you cannot crawl out of. This monkey on your back.
This is where it gets heavy. The parents are trying to explain that it's not just addiction, it's mental health. ADHD, Tourette's, missing meds, and rehab, but the question becomes, when does explanation turn into excuse? Comment below. Can you hold someone fully accountable if the system failed them first?
Will be there for the rest of your life, and if you don't get out of it now, you're going to be 70 years old with the continual on your back, in and out of custody. You're so messed up right now, you can barely open your eyes, man.
Your Honor.
And I don't know if you're enabling it or you're closing your eyes because of the love that you have as a father, but
He has severe ADHD and severe Tourette syndrome. And we put him in a recovery center, and we told them, we sent him the documentation. They told us every day they were getting the medication they ever did. Never did, until they finally refused to answer my phone calls because I kept calling him up what he needs to be on. I said, this ADHD medicine robs him of his chemicals and his dopamine chemicals in his brain. And he goes, he uses drugs to put them back. And I said, the Tourette's makes him not make good decisions. It's not a good combination. And they said, yes, that's the case in almost many drug addicts with ADHD. And they wouldn't fix it, right? And so I got pretty upset with him because he got out and he had a pill bottle that he got the day he got out. They had never given him any pills the entire time he was there for these things. So I agree that it's a bad problem and a wrong problem, but I also agree it's not entirely his fault because he's got a chemical imbalance that nobody is addressing. and never has. He's had this since he was a young child. They've addressed his Tourette's, but they've never addressed the ADHD. And I didn't know until I spoke to a doctor a week ago, or a couple of weeks ago, before he went into the rehab. And the doctor said, they said, so he's got he said he's got ADHD, and I said, yeah. And he says, does he have a problem with drugs? And I said, yeah. And he goes, why isn't he on Ritalin? And I go, what do you mean? He says, that's what Ritalin is for. And if he was speaking apparently from personal experience, so we tried to get him on Ritalin. They wouldn't do that because it's a substance itself, and they said that he could be abusing that substance. So we tried to get him on a secondary substance that's non-abusive. We have fought for weeks, months, and we can't. We finally got him a prescription just as he's now out and back in trouble. So I only beg that we don't want him on drugs, right? But we understand that maybe there's some underlying compassionate issues, right? And I mean, I'd like to be his again, but that doesn't work.
And it pains me because I think that as a father and as a mother, due to love, a lot of times.
This is a turning point. The judge isn't just throwing the book, he's offering a lifeline. Clinical evaluation while in custody, free of charge. That's rare, but honesty is the price. If the report comes back clean and the judge suspects lies, it's back to square one. High stakes, low tolerance.
And I don't know necessarily you, but people tend to kind of shut their eyes and become naive to the fact that they're using, and I'm not talking about marijuana. I'm talking about cocaine. I'm talking about meth.
Be careless. He's got a license for marijuana.
So regardless.
Any heavy drugs, cocaine or anything that's going to cause him a lifelong problem, no. I want him off of that stuff. But he's been in rehab 3 or 4 times. That doesn't really work. So I don't know what does work.
You gotta want it. One of the main things is you gotta want it. But be that as it may, he's trying to fool us, and it's unacceptable. And there has to be accountability for it. I can't just let him go when you're using a Wizinator to try to fool us. It's unacceptable, and there has to be accountability. And the problem is that I think that what we need to do now is have him evaluated by our clinicians to see how we go forward. Okay. So what I'd like to do is, while he's in custody now, I can have it done in a very expedited manner. I can have it done within, today's Tuesday? We can hopefully have a report back by Friday to see, at the latest Monday, to see how we go forward. Our clinicians can talk to him, and if he's honest, figure a way to go about doing this. And I'm going to tell you now, while I have him here, I can pay everything for you, so you don't have to pay for a dime. If you're on the outside, though, I can't pay for it.
We can forward you doctor's records and things like that.
My only concern and the only thing I want now is our clinicians to be able to speak to him to see where we go forward. Mr. Terrell, I'm going to have you what's called TRAS to see, it's an evaluation to see where we go from here. If we get this TRAS back and it tells me that your little bunny's jumping in the woods and that there's no problems, then I know that you weren't honest, and I'm going to make you go do it right back again. And we're going to continue to do it until you're honest. But, you can lie to me, but you can't lie to yourself. You can't be like this forever.
And here's the gut punch. Despite every rehab, every chance, every plea, he keeps using. It's a brutal cycle. The judge sees it, the parents feel it, and the audience. We're caught between empathy and frustration. Can compassion and accountability really coexist in a case like this?
At some point, you're going to be a habitual and you're looking at 25 to life.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for your patience, but
you don't have to. And I'm really, truly sorry.
He did man up and come in. He wasn't going to. We had to fight with him and beg with him. He didn't.
To come in.
He didn't want to.
Of course. No one wants to go to jail.
And because he said, I said, he's not going to put you in jail. He goes, yes, he will. And I said, no, he has a heart. He's not going to put you in jail. He knows that you have a problem. The problem is the issue, not stopping the thing that's causing this is the
Is your
issue.
last name Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
We've tried that. I gave him to you.
But he didn't, we tried it, but like I said, the underlying cause, which we've only just recently found, or
They've
found that
never
it may be,
treated
they've
the
never
symptoms.
treated.
I understand.
And
I
so here
understand.
he's untreated and still being treated like it's a normal case, and it's not really.
I tried. I've given him back to you guys. I've asked him repeatedly to stay sober and not use, and he continues to do so. No matter how many times I give him to you,
That's being caused by something.
it's going to continue, and you have to realize it. And if you think that just him saying, okay, I'm gonna stop, or the Ritalin is gonna make it stop,
It has for many people.
it may have. And yes, it may have.
So how long are you putting him in for?
I don't know. For now, I would like to have him TRAS to see where they go. My feeling is that they're probably going to say that he needs inpatient rehab,
Which he's already been to.
not in the jail.
Yes, he has. You sentenced him to that last year. WIMAC.
I don't have, we didn't put him in WIMAC. Did we do WIMAC with him?
But they never actually treated the symptoms either.
They
So
probation
we have other, if WIMAC didn't work, we have other facilities that we can go to. And we've got at least 3 to 4 different facilities, and we can continue to put them into each facility until it takes.
He has this felony case that this case is associated with this next week. Yeah. Of which
So
we're
will they
hoping,
release him?
we're hoping gets thrown out of court.
They have also facilities as well to help treat as well. We both do, and we both have facilities. They have more resources than we do because there are more serious cases up there, so they have quite a bit of more resources.
It does look like he went to WIMAC, but that's mainly to address like this criminal attitudes and thinking. Now,
It was for drugs because he was on probation for drugs. That's why he was.
No. What she's saying is that
the program that he went to was supposed to address like this thinking, attitudes, and things. So now we're gonna assess him now that we know that he has mental health issues and as well as substance use problems.
It went last time because of substance abuse. That was what the story.
no, but she's saying no.
She said no, but this time
Okay.
it's
Well, I think, Judge, they might be referring to the deferred was adjudicated based off of drug violations. He tested positive for many times for drugs. That's why his guilt was adjudicated in that case in this court. I think that may be what they're referring to.
That line, "We don't do that here," is powerful. The judge is drawing a line between punishment and rehabilitation. But does the system always live up to that ideal? Or are we just saying the right things while still cycling people through the same broken process?
Yeah, it was because he was on probation for drugs. And they actually, put him in there. And then, when he came, he couldn't even get his lawyer when he came to court. He got a court-appointed lawyer when he had a lawyer who was paid for. Twice. And it's very frustrating to us that he doesn't seem to be getting fair treatment. It seems like he's being held as an example and be given as an example and not being given fair treatment. And
How is he not being given fair treatment?
well,
Tell me.
I just really wanted, my wife is not going to be happy if I.
Well, no, but it seems like you're blaming me for the situation,
no, sir. What we're trying to say that he never got an assessment for the mental issues.
And they were told over and over again. I wrote
They.
the court officials, the probation officers, everyone was told that he had these issues and problems. They did nothing about it. Okay, his attorney brought paperwork to the court, Mike Monk.
Yeah, because we gave him the paperwork with all the.
Nobody did
tests
anything
and
about
stuff
it.
that was wrong with him.
So we keep
So-
going, you guys keep blaming this stuff, but you just keep holding him up as an example and punishing him, and then we never try to find out what's the problem.
Put people in jail when they violate conditions, when they do something against the law. We don't willy-nilly put people in jail for S and giggles. We don't do that here.
So why is
If
there?
someone has a true problem, then we give them the opportunity to try to do things on their own. When it becomes evident that they're unable to, that's when we try to step in. I don't do this out of hate.
Outside of, he, you know, we know that he has a problem, but outside of that, like he has a felony charge. They aren't giving these bond requirements, and this misdemeanor court is giving these bond requirements, when the felony court is not. So.
Can't tell you what the felony court, I want to make sure that he's not using alcohol or drugs.
It has nothing to do with this case.
How do you know that?
Judge, there are facts in this case that do indicate that there were crack pipes recovered from the defendant. And that's most likely why.
How do you know that he's charged with a felony assault? He's charged with interference.
And just like that, bam, bond revoked. This is a pivotal turning point. The judge is clearly fed up and making a move to protect the defendant from himself. But here's a question. Does raising the bond help, or does it just trap the vulnerable even deeper in the system?
With emergency request for assistance, how do you know that the drugs and alcohol that are using did not impact this?
Because he was sound asleep. All right, and she stuck a machete through his TV.
Not the
She,
case.
okay, I know, we're not supposed to talk about it. I apologize.
Look.
It just feels very wrong.
I know that you see through the eyes of a loving father, and I'm not going to fault you for that. I get it, and I understand that, and I'm sorry. I really am. But I think that the best thing for him now is in a facility that he doesn't have access to drugs.